I'm just going to go through one of our projects and give you a brief refresher on the NEBOSH HSE Certificate in Health and Safety Leadership Excellence. This is for a couple of reasons, mainly so that you're aware of the project and just to go through some of the very minor changes that we've made to it as part of the recent redevelopment. So I'll do a quick overview of the project. I'll talk about what has changed. We'll look at some horizon scanning, and then there's some time for some questions and answers at the end. So the NEBOSH HSE Certificate in Health and Safety Leadership Excellence qualification, I'll refer to it as HSL for the rest of this presentation because it's quite a mouthful. So it's one of our qualifications that's jointly developed with the HSE. It was first launched back in April 2018, and because all of our projects are on a redevelopment cycle, it's now come round to its 5-year redevelopment, where we look over the project, check it, update it as necessary, and then relaunch it. So the qualification is suitable for both UK and international learners, and there are course materials available for this qualification. There's a set of slides, there's quite an extensive lesson plan, and there's a course book. So as for some scene setting, I'll be thinking about why health and safety leadership matters. So people need to leave work just as healthy as when they arrived. There are laws and other bits of legislation that needs to be complied with, and therefore health and safety in the workplace needs to be managed. Poor health and safety performance is expensive, as well as impacting people's lives through injuries and incidents. And good health and safety practices are embedded into an organisation by its leaders. So the leaders perhaps set the tone for health and safety in that organisation, and that tone may be negative or positive. So as for a qualification overview, what's it about? This qualification isn't so much about the nuts and bolts of health and safety. That would very much be the certificate or diploma qualifications. This qualification is very much about the leadership of health and safety within an organisation, and it aims to give learners an understanding of how the behaviours and responsibilities of leaders impact health and safety in an organisation. Who it's for? Well, it's for senior leaders and aspiring leaders. Something I found quite interesting when I started looking at this qualification for the purposes of redevelopment is that one of the main bodies who take this qualification and who have their staff to take this qualification is the Metropolitan Police. So there are thousands, literally thousands of Metropolitan Police staff at sergeant level and above. So that might be frontline staff or the behind the scenes staff who are taking or have taken this qualification or are waiting in line to go through this qualification. It's a vocationally recognised qualification, and it sits at SCQF level 6 and is worth 1 credit. So the structure of it is that it's 1 unit and 1 assessment. It's typically taught face-to-face, but it can also be done via open and distance learning, and takes 1 day. There are no entry requirements for it, and it's currently taught in English only. So of that 1 pretty intensive day, there are 7 taught hours, but it's recommended that learners do 3 hours of pre-course reading before undertaking the course. Mainly that'll be their own internal policies, etc., so that they are better aware of if they're not already aware, so that they are better aware of their own organisation's health and safety policies, so that they can apply those to what they'll learn on the course. So a brief activity, whether I get any takers or whether any hands up, I'm not sure. But whether you pop your hands up or whether you just have a think about this, um, reflect on the best manager or leader that you have worked with and some of their qualities. So what qualities made them so good? So I either pop a comment in the chat if you could, or just have a quick think about that. I can't see anything in the chat, so I'll pop on to the next slide. Hopefully, some of the qualities that you thought about are reflected in this model. So this is the model that was put together by the HSE or the HSL, and it illustrates their key leadership values and what they think health and safety leaders should be able to demonstrate. So you've got the 5 leadership values going around the top, and then those values are underpinned by supporting foundations about communication and effective role modelling. So hopefully some of the things that you thought about what makes a good leader was around support, encouraging learning, innovation, fairness in relationships, equal treatment, recognition, and good role modelling. So moving on to think about the syllabus content on the HSL course. It covers foundations of health and safety leadership, so that might look at some of the business, legal and moral reasons for good health and safety leadership. It'll look at human failures and decision making, so it'll look at errors, violations, and also there's some quite interesting elements in there about mental shortcuts that people use either consciously or unconsciously when they're making decisions. And then finally, it looks at leadership itself and the different styles of leadership and how they impact health and safety excellence within an organisation. As for the assessment, it's completed on the day in the form of reflective statements. So in that fairly intensive 7-hour teaching day, there will be regular breaks and pauses where learners stop and they are asked to reflect on points from that health and safety model that I just showed. So they'll be asked to think about how they, in their working lives, demonstrate each of the different key leadership skills. The reflective statements are marked by the course tutors, and then learners either have a pass or a refer, and ultimately the pass mark is very high. And if learners don't quite make it to the pass standard, then they are supported by the tutors in order to do so. We did some surveys back last summer, it would have been, when we were redeveloping the qualification to find out what our customers, what learners and what learning partners thought about the HSL qualification. As part of that research, we found that 94% of learners would highly recommend the qualification. The learning partners who responded, nearly all of them rated the course materials as good or excellent. This is quite an interesting point. 75% of learners and 64% of learning partners felt that the course was an appropriate length. I think that 64% is quite interesting because the feedback that we were getting was that it's an intensive day and could last 2 days. However, the reality is that commercially, people would struggle to be able to send their staff on a 2-day course as opposed to a 1-day course. So that's why we've kept it at 1 day, because it might not be viable as a 2-day course. And then finally, nearly all learners and learning partners felt that the assessment format supported the course learning. So as I said at the very start, we've been looking at this qualification as part of its 5-year redevelopment cycle, where we check that it's still up to date and still fit for purpose. And as I say, we went out and did our research and got feedback on what learners and learning partners think of the syllabus, and whether there's any strong views on things that need to be changed. So as a result of that consultation, there's been some very minor changes to the syllabus and no changes to the assessment. We've updated the learning outcomes and assessment criteria so that they are more in line with how we normally express our learning outcomes and assessment criteria. They haven't actually changed. The content of them hasn't changed. They've been clarified. The wording has been improved and clarified slightly. The only syllabus content changes are the removal of a make it happen model, a removal of a Vroom's model of motivation, because they weren't as needed as previously perhaps, and the course was covered adequately without them. And the only thing that's been added is a short section on individual risk perception. Fees, I've put in there the fees from the 1st of April because that's where we're rapidly heading towards. And at the moment, there will be the offer of free accreditation for gold, silver and corporate providers who don't currently offer the HSL, and they're able to ask for this free accreditation up to the 1st of March. So horizon scanning then, as I say, the HSL redevelopment is currently underway. It's virtually done. The revised project will be launched to learning partners next week. There'll then be a public launch on the 28th of February, and the revised project will be taught from the 1st of April. The course book has been given a fresh look and feel, and the SCQF accreditation of HSL and other SCQF products is due to be renewed in October this year. So thank you for listening, and please come forward with any questions. I've had a question about plans to offer the qualification in other languages. Not that I'm aware of. I can double check that, but it's currently in English. It is suitable for international students. Obviously, if it's taught internationally, then the tutors would teach the legislation appropriate to the country that they are in. So thank you again for listening. If there are no further questions, I'll leave it there. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sian.
Okay.
Thank you, Sian. Thank you.
Thank you.